I'll share this deck with anyone. It's not a trade secret. So add me on LinkedIn and ask. Okay, let's get into the nitty gritty. What is a security? What's an investment contract? What's the Howey test? What is the Gordon securities test? By the way, like I said, I'm not with the SEC. You can't rely on the Gordon securities test, but it's good to know. And is it a security or is it a pencil? We'll get to that. Okay. Remember, a security is a defined term. It's a defined term in the 33 Act, and it's a defined term in the 34 Act. It's that long list of things. Shares, bonds, notes, investment contracts. And when it comes down to it, the SEC and lawyers and governments don't care what you call something. They call what something actually is in real life. They look at the economic reality. They look at the substance of what you're doing. So if you test shares in a company and you don't call them shares, you call them ducks. Hey, SEC, I'm not selling shares to the public, I'm selling ducks to the public. So the securities law don't apply. The SEC will laugh at you and go, haha, nice try. Okay, you can call this thing whatever you want to call it, but in real life it's a share, so it's a security, so we're going to regulate it. Because believe me, no one is so clever that they're the first one who came up with the idea of calling something by a different name just to avoid regulation. So when you take your security, you go, no, it's not just a security, it's a token. The SEC laughs at you and they say, you know what, we've heard that one before. Last year you said duck, this year you said token. No. What the SEC and all the courts and everyone are looking at is the economic reality, the substance of what you're doing. Now, every once in a while something happens that's new. I'd argue that tokens and blockchain and ICO are new. That doesn't mean that the law doesn't apply. But you're not just renaming some old thing and trying to slip by. There's a real question. Are token securities? I don't know. Are they? We don't know. How do you figure it out? Well, you need to find out whether this bucket concept of an investment contract applies. Okay, so again, definition of a security includes investment contract. Why is it there? I explained this. Okay, the Howey test. So the US Congress and Roosevelt passed the 33 Securities Act, in 33, obviously, and the Securities Exchange Act in 34. Both of them had a definition of security. Both of them included investment contract in that definition. But they did not define what the heck an investment contract is. So everyone was struggling until 1946, 13 years later, when the US Supreme Court came up with the Howey test. Now, there's 9 judges who sit on the US Supreme Court. And the Howey test, think about this, is deciding ICOs and token and securities law today around the world. Now, here's a trick question. What do all of those 9 judges have in common? Anyone?
Lawyers.
They're definitely lawyers. What else? Those 1946 Supreme Court judges, what do they all have in common?
Maybe they liked oranges.
Conservative.
Say again?
Conservative.
Maybe. I see an idea for me.
They were on nail.
Oh, here's the answer. They're dead. Okay? These 9 dead dudes wrote a case in 1946. Then in 2018, when I'm sitting here in Georgia, in Tbilisi, I had no idea this was going to happen, by the way. You told me 3 years ago. Okay? These 9 dead dudes, and they're all dudes, are running US and global securities law. What's with these 9 dead dudes? Well, until we have something better, these 9 dead dudes made the law that governs what the heck a security is when you have an uncertain situation. So you thought I brought this up here just because I was walking into the room late and had this in my hand, right? Well, that's true. No. Okay, this is an orange. Hey, okay, there you go. The case, Howey, SEC versus Howey. Howey, this poor guy, owned some orange groves, land divided up into parcels where they were growing orange groves. And it's right by a really nice, ritzy resort. And these wealthy New Yorkers would come down to the resort and they go, you know what, I want to get back to nature. Let me go frolic and play in the orange groves. I love picking oranges. This is fun. This is what people did in the 40s. And Howey, smart guy, said, you know what, Mr. City Slicker, how about this? Since you love oranges so much, buy some land, we'll take care of the trees, we'll pick the oranges for you, we'll sell them, and we'll give you some of the results. This is a land maintenance contract. Okay, since you love oranges so much. And of course, everyone, like, every time they buy a condo goes, or timeshare goes, this is great. I'll come to these oranges on my weekends and pick them and enjoy them. Of course, no one really does that. They go once or twice and they forget about it, right? So Howie was selling these contracts, these land maintenance contracts, where they said, you know, hey, you own this orange plot. We'll pick the oranges and we'll sell them for you. We'll give you some of the money. The SEC came down and said, you're not selling oranges. You're selling securities. You're selling investment contracts. No, I'm not. I'm selling oranges. Yes, you are. SEC, Howie, blah, blah, blah. Lawsuit, 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 appeal, appeal, appeal. Finally, it ends up in the US Supreme Court. And the question is what Howie was selling an investment contract? It wasn't a stock, it wasn't a bond, it wasn't a note, but is it an investment? Is it a security that falls within the definition so that the SEC has jurisdiction? Because if it's not, if it's an orange, that's a commodity. Okay, if it's something else other than orange because of the relationship that they formed, now all of a sudden it's a security. So the SEC figured out the Howie test. If you take anything out of today, take this. There's a 4-part test to deciding whether or not a token, anything, is a security. Each one of these parts must be true. If any one of them is not true, it's not an investment contract, not a security, so the SEC cannot ban it. Unless you're committing fraud, and again, that's the exception to everything. So with those people who said the SEC can ban any token, no. The question is, does that token, when you apply the Howie test, are all 4 prongs true? If any one of them is not true, it's not a security. It may be a commodity, but it's not a security. Okay, is there an investment of money or value? Okay, if I'm giving people gifts of oranges, I don't want anything, well, maybe I want something for you. No, here's an orange, here's a gift. Okay, is that a security?
No.
No, give me that back. Was that a security when I took it back? No, I'm a jerk, but no. Okay, you'll get it done. Okay. Just play along, I know it's you. Can I sell this to you for 100 green?
Okay.
Okay. Now, everyone agree that there's an investment of money there? Well, here. I have 100 green, I really do. Was there an investment of money? It's not a trick question.
Yes.
Yes, okay, good. By the way, there's not a trick.
It's not a security.
Okay, so now, does that by itself make it a security?
No.
Okay, why?
It's a commodity.
Hold on. You sold him an orange. You
Yes.
got the money. He got the orange.
Yes.
Where is the investment?
Well, let's say an exchange of value. The investment's a little bit of loaded work, you're right. Let's say, is there payment of value? Is there an exchange of funds?
Yeah.
Okay, good point. Right, and I always tell people, be careful, if you think your token is not a security, do not use the word investment in your documents. So it's a good point. Actually, I'm gonna change that slide, thank you. Okay, but if I sell this orange to Mike here for 100 green, and we just exchange it, is that a security? Does that by itself make it a security? No, of course not. I mean, it's not like everyone's selling oranges all day, it's selling securities. By the way, with all this stuff, just pause for a moment, don't get hyper-technical, just think in real life what's going on. Okay, you go on the street and you buy an orange for some money, you're not in a securities transaction. Okay, is there an expectation of profit? Here's where things get exciting. One more time. Since you're good. I'm gonna sell you this orange for 100 Canadian dollars. I don't know, I won't be naturals. You should buy it, because soon it'll be worth 120 Canadian dollars.
Yeah, if
Do you believe me?
Yeah.
Really?
Maybe.
Oh, we should do a lot of business. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
there's an expectation of profit there. If you read the actual Howie case, it's interesting. It doesn't say expectation of profit. It says led to an expectation of profit. Led to an expectation. In other words, it's not what this person's point of view is by itself. It's the view the seller create that expectation in that person's mind. So if I've just done what I've just done, and sir, what's your name?
Lawrence.
Lawrence. And Lawrence thought in his mind, ha, that fool. I know that 100 Canadian dollar orange is really worth 120. I'll buy it and I'll resell it. Ha, that silly attorney from LA. And I didn't say anything to make you have that point of view. You may have an expectation of profit, but I did not lead you to an expectation of profit. Now, everyone around the world kind of makes a mistake on this, and they think it's because there's just an expectation of profit. If you look at what, in cases where it's not clear, the courts and everyone else really look to how was that thing marketed? How was it sold? What was the understanding of the parties? In other words, they look beyond the orange, and they look at the communications around the orange. That I somehow, as the issuer, induce someone to have an expectation of profit. Okay, in a common enterprise. That's a tricky word, and that's defined by a lot of cases, but basically, is there some group of people or economic interests consciously or intentionally acting together to make something happen? Well, when you have a company like IBM or Google or whatever, it's pretty